Yeah, hi everyone. So I'm Dr. Jennifer Berrett. So I'm a clinical psychologist and I work within the field of perinatal mental health. So my kind of background is perinatal. All of my roles, my kind of different roles are focusing on perinatal mental health and working with parents. And one of the things that we're kind of really active in at the moment is thinking about how ACT can really support parents with those early years, kind of having a pregnancy, newborn, moving through those kind of months and milestones. So one of my roles has been around thinking about ACT groups, and what I'm going to talk about today has really come from facilitating those ACT groups. So when we think about some of the pillars of mindfulness, we're often thinking about things like observing, describing, curiosity, openness, and really trying to generate that non-judgmental stance, bringing that real conscious awareness to that present moment. But it can be really hard to think about how that looks, especially if you're new to mindfulness practice. And our work with parents has often led us to talk about ways in which mindfulness can fit into daily lives. There's so many preconceived ideas of going away, spending time on formal exercises, and really quickly you notice the resistance and the challenge to this. And it kind of makes sense. There's already so many demands. And often when we see people maybe individually or even in group, it's been hard enough even just trying to get to those time points or those sessions. So asking them to add in another thing can feel really challenging. So we initially try to kind of approach mindfulness in, how do we help people to start embracing it in all of those daily activities that they do? How do we kind of help them recognize that this can happen in those daily activities that they do? So one of the ways that we describe this is by asking them to think about a toddler. So toddlers, as we know, are very busy. They're really busy little beings. They love exploring. They love being curious. And their attention does flip from one place to the next. But that's in a really mindful way often, So even though they seem very busy, actually what they're doing is usually taking in everything that's happening in those moments. So imagine, or all you have to imagine is actually go into a park, and what you'll observe and see is toddlers engaging in those mindfulness skills. So we'll see observing, for example. Toddlers are often observing other children climbing. They'll observe them playing around them. They'll even be watching and noticing kind of the interaction between the child and the parents, or a child crying or them giggling. They'll be noticing the different colours of flowers and leaves. I remember my toddler kind of really picking out this flower bed and kind of going along and telling me all of the different colours and how bright they were. And I hadn't really noticed that until he pointed it out. They noticed different colours of kind of, the sky or the ground or stones. They'll notice children giggling, birds singing, dogs barking. You'll see them pause and actually take that moment in. And that curiosity and openness that they hold. So many parents can really resonate with those repeated questions of, what's that? When pointing to like a tiny bug or a ladybird that maybe we might have missed as an adult, or a bird landing on a bench, or as I mentioned, those stones that stand out from the rest that we might never have noticed. And you can really hear the describing going on. They make statements like, that's a dog, even though they might have seen a million dogs. Seeing a flower, oh, look, pink, or shh, listen, birds. And if they don't have language, they might point or pause. But you can really just notice that moment of them noticing, that moment of they're just taking it in. And if they kind of I've been to that same park a million times, it still feels like it's like the newest place. There's always something new to discover. So much of this is what mindfulness teaches us. Toddlers move through those moments as they come up. This sense of noticing, curiosity, openness, describing, just without clinging to it or pushing it away. So we've named this toddler mind. And when we kind of do this with parents, it just really resonates. Lots of them might have older toddlers, or older children, or some of them might kind of already be envisaging what it's going to be like to have a toddler or this little being that's going to be getting curious and busy. So we mention, you know, oh, there's your toddler mind, or there's toddler mind really regularly, and it just instantly hits. That's me kind of being mindful in that moment all of the time. So we often ask, you know, a mum to imagine just walking down a road with a toddler, using all of your senses. What things might you notice with your toddler, or even as your toddler? What might you find yourself describing? What might you be open to experiencing? And it's really interesting because our job as parents is to really support children to engage with this way of exploration and curiosity, as it's just so important for their development and learning. And similarly then for adults, we could suggest that fostering this sense of curiosity and openness, moving through those moments without getting stuck or even pushing them away, could help us to grow and understand ourselves and the world around us. So yeah, we can learn a lot from that toddler mind.